What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here. Delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. Head over to the link in the description below. Get a free graphic novel from me and never miss a video. Pretty awesome stuff. And if you enjoy indie comics, I hope you'll check it out. Cool. All right, today we are going to review Adrian Tomine's The Loneliness of a Long-Distance Cartoonist. You see, it's got a very interesting presentation here. It's about this much smaller than a standard comic, so it's kind of digest or manga sized, and it kind of fits for the illustrations inside. You know, some of my readers might be like, this is some hipster stuff. It really is, and I love indie hipster stuff. I won't lie. I don't know why, but I just have like this real connection to indie hipster stuff. So this is published by Drawn and Quarterly, who really does like the premier indie hipster books. And you can tell that this is formatted like it's a notebook. You got this whole deal right here, which seals it. It's hardcover. It's kind of small, and it's got what looks like graph paper all the way through. So it's done on graph paper, and it's got the little ribbon for your bookmark also, which I really love. So I love cool presentations like this. This makes me happy to read. It really feels like you're getting into Adrian's personal notebook and personal diary sort of setup with reading this. And that's really what this is. It starts out with a whole sort of prelude before it gets into the deal, because that's pretty indie hipster as it is, going over his childhood and his interest in comics and kind of being bullied for that. As you can see, he's a pretty straightforward cartoonist. So you get, you know, that old school cartoony feel that you get in newspapers and things like that. And Adrian Tomine actually does illustrations for the New Yorker now. It's kind of his gig. But he just goes over his life, and he started kind of coming onto the scene in 1995, where he goes to Comic-Con, and everything in here is kind of like self-deprecating humor, where you know, he gets really frustrated. You can tell he's got a lot of sort of internal angst about things. And one of the running gags in here is that, you know, he's always showing up to some event thinking that there's going to be a lot of people there for him, and it always ends up being for somebody else, like Neil Gaiman. I think Neil Gaiman is mentioned like 3 times in that capacity, where he's just like, cool, oh, I hear all the applause, this is going to be great. And he walks into a room and it's like 4 people. He's like, where's all the noise coming from? And oh, it's Neil Gaiman. So he a lot of sad moments, you know, for like an introverted sort of emo kid of Gen X, right? Very jaded, and I would say negative sense of humor, but it is humorous at the same time. Like, he does see the humor in everything by the same token. I also appreciate that this really, a lot of this takes place in Berkeley / Oakland, East Bay, California, where I guess he was from for a long time, because I'm from there. So I get a lot of the references in the background. I'm like, oh, I've been there. You know, that's kind of a nice personal touch with this comic. And so it really just goes through his life. So every strip is a few pages, and it's, you know, 1 year at a time or a couple months at a time, and then he jumps ahead to the next situation. And it's always typically involving something in his comic career where he, you know, expects things to be a little different as a famous cartoonist or whatever, and it really doesn't pan out as well as he thought it would. And so that's kind of the theme of this. We get to meet his wife here, who's presented as just adoring and lovable and caring and wonderful. He's got nothing negative to say about his wife, which I really appreciate. I like family people, and he's got little kids. He also comes to the conclusion at the end that, you know, the most important thing is not being a workaholic or anything, but spending time with your kids. So there is good messaging in this, despite sort of the negative humor, and I appreciate the family dynamic especially. Now, it goes into a health crisis at the end, and I'm not going to spoil it because the end sort of strip is the longest one, and it really has the best payoff. But he goes through this whole period where he's got severe chest pain, and then it kind of ends on both the note of somebody knowing what his work is and kind of having that easy come, easy go, just like a lot of the strips before. And of course, he talks about, you know, kind of getting a new outlook on life from that experience, which is kind of nice. So I really loved this. I thought this was awesome. I laughed a lot. I felt his pain. I've always loved his work. So this is a nice autobiography sort of deal. It is super indie pretentious, so go into that knowing this. You know, but he also is self-aware about that, so he kind of mocks the indie pretentiousness that's out there at the same time. So I don't know, a lot of fun. This is 10 out of 10. Wonderful read. I highly recommend it for people who are interested in comics and just something just a little different than the standard fare. All right, hit that like and subscribe button, everybody, and leave a comment down below if you've read this. Love to meet people who read indie comics, of course, and I hope you will come and hang out at the channel again. See you guys.